You can see the hat right there. That is a flag you may be familiar with. That is the Chicago flag, the most popular professional wrestler to ever come out of Chicago. The most divisive, the most electric character of the 2010s in wrestling, who has not been seen in a pro wrestling ring since 2014, is reportedly in discussions for an in-ring return. Who am I talking about? Who could it be? Oh, I don't know. CM Punk. That's right. CM Punk is reportedly in discussions for an in-ring wrestling return. This is a breaking news story from Sportskeeda Wrestling.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Watch out, watch out, watch out, everybody. What's up? I'm Kev Kellum. Joining me is Greg Bush in South Carolina. Greg, I'm going to get you on screen here in a minute. This is just such a crazy story. This breaking just within the last hour. Tip of the cap to the old millennial Meltzer himself, Sean Ross Sapp, and the staff at Fightful.com, our compatriots down the line there. This is the huge story. What is the latest and what do we know?
All right. So according to Sean Ross Sapp, CM Punk has been in some ongoing talks for a return for a while with AEW. Well, might be the landing point at this point. There's no confirmation of a contract officially being signed or a timetable or a set return date. So anyone assuming already it's going to be all out, pump your brakes. Yep. Not yet. Nothing official, but the talks are happening.
It's worth noting other sources in the wrestling media world are saying that they've spoken to WWE people and they think that that's the way this could go as well. People within WWE saying that CM Punk, if he is landing in wrestling, that it looks like AEW would be the destination for that. This lines up with a bunch of different things that Punk has said publicly in the past. That isn't to say these things can change. That isn't to say that, that he could end up wrestling or not wrestling somewhere else. So let it be known. This is not Sportskeeda or even, the people we're basing our aggregate reporting here off of, saying that he's going to All Elite Wrestling. Now, I know a lot of people are going to knee-jerk reaction and say that indeed is where he's going. Like you said, Greg, pump the brakes. This lines up, though, with other things he said in the last year and a half, 2 years, promoting different film projects he was involved with, other things that he was involved with. He was involved with the WWE television show. Technically, that was him doing the backstage show that was on Fox Sports for a while, and he would do sporadic appearances and stuff on it. He had to deal with Fox. He emphatically said that. There were people in WWE. I interviewed Seth Rollins in 2019. In the interview, Seth called him out, and I did not ask Seth to do that. And in that conversation, I almost wanted to ask, are you working me right now? Like I didn't do it though. And there was a lot of people who thought maybe that was Rollins trying to work the internet and make some things happen for himself. And that would be a timetable for him to come back and also be in the ring with someone that, yeah, technically they had a match, but never like that. But now Punk says, I would want to come back. I would want to do television that I think is good and different and unique. I'd want fresh matchups. He's brought up wrestlers he likes, like Will Ospreay, who's a big star in New Japan, but is currently injured. He's brought up guys like Kenny Omega. He's brought up, other people that are within the WWE system as well. So, but a lot of people think he would go to All Elite Wrestling because there's a lot of money on the table there. Following this up, 2 years ago, All Out 2. Big event for AEW. They're months into their operation there. They did their pilot episode All In Chicago. What a better platform for him to come back in Chicago and be there. Starcast, the convention, was running there. And you saw that event. The big sit-down interview where everyone's just thinking it's going to be like him. It's going to be just like when LeBron James said he was going to Miami. And they did the big special so that he could tell you he's going to AEW. But even at that Starcast convention, the organizers of that convention had to come out and say, that is not happening. He's not making this announcement. We don't want you guys to get the wrong idea. How many wrong ideas are being floated on the internet right now about CM Punk and his future?
Oh, man. It ever since the news broke, it's all over the place. And that's the thing that you don't want to have happen. You don't want people to get their hopes up for something, and then when it doesn't happen, they just think, oh, I was robbed. I didn't get what I wanted.
It was never promised to you.
Exactly.
People did this this is the same thing that kind of happened with wrestling fans. Oh, Lesnar's not coming back. I'm supposed to get Lesnar and Lashley, I'm for SummerSlam. They never advertised it. They never said they brought up Brock Lesnar's name, but they brought up Daniel Bryan's name on television too. They brought up a lot of people's names on television who aren't going to be there. They're referencing wrestling as itself. So I do think there is a lot of wild reactions right now. I know a lot of people are probably watching us for the first time. Check us out on our YouTube channel, Sportskeeda Wrestling. Also on Facebook, we do Vince Russo reviewing Monday Night Raw every Monday night. Friday nights, we have Dutch Mantella covering SmackDown. And, of course, we podcast all of our content. And we do Top Story of the Day every weekday. Obviously, this is something we want to jump on a little bit sooner. But reaction is insane. All right? It's an insane reaction. If AEW doesn't land him, is this a big disappointment?
Not really. I mean, this is something that's been talked about for so many years. I mean, since he left the WWE, the rumors like, oh, where's he going to go next? Impact, New Japan, whatever. If they don't land him, I don't think it can be a disappointment because you shouldn't be expecting something major like that right now. You can have your hopes up, but again, if you're going to go into All Out or AEW and say, if they don't get Punk, I'm disappointed, that's not a good mindset to have.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what fans are saying here. A lot of fans with a lot of different opinions, definitely sounding off here about what this could be. And there are people much older than Punk still wrestling. He's fine. It's worth noting CM Punk's been out of the ring for nearly 6 years now. He did, try his hand at mixed martial arts. He's now been involved in broadcasting mixed martial arts on a high profile level. And he's been doing acting, writing for comic books. He's stayed active. This is not a guy who just went into a cave somewhere and people are just trying to find him. He's been out there, he's been doing television. He still looks fantastic. And now you're talking about a guy who's probably in his early 40s, but that isn't 40s with ring time on it. That's 40s away from the ring for the last 6 years. And the major reason he got out of the ring is because of injuries. We have other people already saying CM Punk versus Kenny Omega. Give me CM Punk versus Kenny Omega. That's the big match. I mean, give me the hypotheticals here, man. We're a few minutes in here. He shows up on Dynamite. He shows up at All Out. Who do you pair him with? It's got to be a fresh pairing. The biggest one I think you could do right away is Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega is the most obvious one and the one that everyone wants to see. I mean, it's something that we've been wanting for a long time. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of other great talents over there. I personally would love a little Cody Rhodes action with CM Punk. Mm-hmm. I think that's all I can do with there. But yeah, I mean, Kenny, it's money. It's so money. I mean, you set up that title fight at a certain point. You got to think buy rates go up. Just on the thought of it alone.
Mm-hmm. Once again, if you're just joining us, what is the story here? Fightful.com, tip of the cap once again, them is reporting that CM Punk is in negotiations for a wrestling return. It is worth noting they cannot confirm that this is at All Elite Wrestling or anywhere else, though separate reports in the industry floating around wrestling media have stated that people within WWE believe that if he does return to wrestling right now, it would be at All Elite Wrestling. So that's what we know right now. Other people not happy about this. Please no AEW. I think there's some fans that are love themselves from WWE and would love to see him pop up in WWE. Here's the thing. I think anywhere he shows up, huge reaction. Anywhere. This isn't me just trying to cut the herd. I think if he showed up at Ring of Honor, it'd be awesome for Ring of Honor. I think if he showed up at New Japan Pro Wrestling, it'd be great for New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's worth noting he did make a small, unadvertised appearance at a wrestling show a few years ago under a mask and gave someone, a longtime wrestling friend of his, this is up in Wisconsin, not far from where I am, and people said it was him, but he always joked that if he ever did come back to wrestling for years, it would be in some 200-seat, independent show that no one would expect him to come back in. He'd be under a hood and you wouldn't know, and that he went and did that. And so it would be interesting if that indeed happened here. If he showed up in WWE, this would be a real earth-moving move for them to make.
Yeah, I mean, no one would see it coming, especially
with the bad blood between him and WWE. They had a huge fight. I was at WrestleZone.com, and we were the only media source in the Cook County courtroom when that entire case went down. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of tension there. Mind you, it's worth noting that case was not WWE versus CM Punk. It was a WWE doctor versus CM Punk. I know some people just assume that is, but in the logistical sense of perception, a lot of people saw that as him just versus the company. He won that case. There was other legal things that came after that. And, there's some people saying, where is he? Is he going to come back? They're kind of over the idea. I think there's some people that would resent the idea of him even coming back because of the way he left, right?
Possibly, yeah. And, some people have taken that personally. I have friends that when Punk left and then he did the Cabana podcast, they felt a little hurt by things that Punk said.
What do you mean? What are they hurt about? We're doing the whole gamut of emotions here, man.
more or less just kind of going after, like, again, it's been on since I've heard the podcast, but he had some tough words for the WWE, which if you're WWE faithful, you might walk away from that going, he just insulted like a part of my life. But again, and WWE has done this before. It's a never say never business. And they've come back and worked with people that we had thought would never work with them again.
Ultimate Warrior, that's a guy who like brought them to court for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
There's guys who you thought would never work with the company again because of their own separate legal issues. I'm of the and there's some people like that. Oh, they mended fences, like they mended fences with Macho Man to some degree, like on merchandising deals, but never fully brought him back. Hulk Hogan, you thought would like. Him jumping to WCW, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, and I also know for Punk, I think he would just want to come back and have fresh, interesting matches. If he was to do it on the WWE side of things, we already mentioned there's a flurry of them that he could do in All Elite Wrestling, a lot of them. But there's still plenty of people there that he's worked with before. Everyone's him and Jericho, they did it. They did it about 10 years ago. But I mean, Omega, him and those guys, there'd be some people in WWE he hasn't worked with at this level. He hasn't done a match with Roman Reigns. We never got that big payoff between him and Triple H. We never got, are you going to say no to a Cena Punk match now? There's some good nostalgia there, but it's something they've done before. I think if he does go back to WWE, ideally, him and NXT would make that brand his own world. Like it would operate completely separately. It would feel like the brand it's supposed to be. It still is. It's still a hardcore alternative wrestling band within the WWE umbrella, right? But if he goes there, he's the ultimate, for lack of a better phrase, punk rock wrestler in the mainstream eyes of a lot of people. He's the disruptor, and that's what NXT is. So, there's a whole lot of possibilities, but if it is indeed AEW, ideally, you got to have him come back and all out in Chicago, right?
You have to. Imagine the pop. Imagine the reaction. It would be definite. One of the last pops we've heard in years.
Absolutely. People with different takes here. Shout out to Raju at the news desk for us. Do you think Punk goes to AEW, Dynamite beats Raw? Do you think this would shift the ratings? Who knows? That's a really hard question to ask. And it's also worth noting, do you allude to him coming back just to get people to come back for this reaction? Imagine how many more people would have watched Money in the Bank if they knew for sure John Cena was going to be there. They didn't know, and they got it as a surprise. So that's why you got that massive reaction, and you got this groundswell, and you had an extra, 400 to 500,000 people watching Raw the next night. So how do you do it? If you're AEW, how do you utilize that name and that explosive moment, which you can only do once? You can't do it twice. Likewise with WWE, bring back to WWE. Where do you put him? Where's the most? Where do we get the most bang for our buck here? And also for him, where do I get to go? He's going to get paid. This isn't a matter of whether or not he's going to get paid. I can tell you in Chicago, there is mixed feelings about this. There are some people who have soured on themselves from CM Punk. I've gotten some text messages in the last hour. People saying this is an awful idea. I don't need to see him in wrestling again. I've had other people say, this is amazing. I would absolutely love this. We have Pratik saying, only know CM Punk is coming back to wrestling. We just don't know where he's coming. That's absolutely right. It is not for sure. Jacob Birch saying CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Well, I can tell you, I interviewed Seth Rollins face-to-face here in Chicago. I'm sitting in my Survivor Series chair, and he point blank in the interview called out CM Punk and said, I'm in Chicago. You know where the Allstate Arena is. And he said, and if we do this match, we only do it at WrestleMania. Let's make some money. That's a WrestleMania match. That is absolutely a WrestleMania match. And if you want to draw this thing out and bring him back and make some really big money, I say you say it, but you don't have him get in the ring until we're doing pay-per-view. And obviously pay-per-view is where you bring them back, because then, the fans who pay their money feel like they got the most bang for the buck. So just like if you're watching Peacock and you subscribe to Peacock, I got a John Cena return. I feel like the brand likes me, so I'm going to stick with them. So it depends on how you want to do it. There's so many different ways you can do this, but you can't do it wrong. You got to do it right, Greg?
Yeah, and Seth Rollins would be, I think, a perfect feud for him. And I want to go back to a point you said earlier about people coming back that have been out of the ring for a few years. Someone that Seth is apparently sledged to face at SummerSlam, Edge, was gone for 10 years, right?
They've never had I don't think they've ever had a match. I think they interacted a little bit. They probably had a match or two on SmackDown. He was there for a while, right? I'm probably wrong about that. I don't mind being wrong.
What I'm saying is, as far as people thinking, he's been out of the ring for too long. Edge is out for 10 years, and he's still got it. He really does. So if that's an issue, I don't think it needs to be. And Seth Rollins, CM Punk would be a perfect WrestleMania match.
Absolutely. I mean, the possibilities are through the roof. And I know some people, if you're a vocal minority and you're sour in this, remember, you are the minority. I think the majority of fans would love to see CM Punk show up wrestling somewhere again. And no matter where it is, we're inclined to think that it is in AEW. Obviously, they have the bankroll to do this if they want to do it. Bompy texting in said, imagine Tony Khan gets the rights to Cult of Personality for CM Punk. Well, I mean, AEW has no problem, spending those hefty musical rights fees of these established songs. They did one for Orange Cassidy. He has a song, he comes out to the Pixies. They have Wild Thing, which is a popular song. So, CM Punk comes back, you hear Cult of Personality, crowd's going to be unglued. No one's staying in their seats if that happens, for sure. More people texting in. Christian saying, maybe AEW, since there's more talent and opportunity. Are you implying that there's no talent in WWE for this guy to take on that he hasn't taken on before? He hasn't had that big match with? I'm of the thought there's both, but there's a lot more bad blood in WWE. There's a lot more of shifting with the way they produce their television, the way the storylines are told. There's a lot of different things here. Let us know with your reactions. Engage buttons. Tell us, press those buttons. Let us know what you think with those as well. If you don't want to just type out an idea, I just want to react to there's a lot of smart outs going on right now here. A lot of people with different ideas here. Raj texting in here. Thank you, Raj, for texting. He says, Roman has literally defeated Punk back in 2013. Yeah, but that's Roman in 2013. That is
different Roman.
Different Roman. Completely different. That's like if he beat Bray Wyatt before, well, did he beat The Fiend? That's completely new character. And
there are a lot of fans that think that the Cabana podcast Punk did was part of the reason that fans turned on Roman. So there's a story there to talk about.
Yes. Oh, and who's the babyface? CM Punk's the babyface. Roman's your big bad heel, right? So if you liked booing Roman and now you enjoy booing Roman, if you were booing Roman when they told you not to boo him, and now you're booing Roman because you're supposed to boo Roman, and then they give you a guy that made you want to boo Roman all along. So what's wrong? That's peanut butter. That's peanut butter and jelly, guys. That makes sense.
I mean, that's a main event you have to see. You have to see it.
But obviously, I think him in All Elite Wrestling, it just makes sense. It makes the most sense of any of these equations that we're laying out for you guys here. If you're watching this video on demand, let us know where you want to see CM Punk end up. Get down in those comments below. And if you haven't done it already, go ahead and like this video. Just a simple click of the likey button will get us there. A lot of you guys watching this for the first time, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Hours of content every single week. Vince Russo reviewing Monday at Raw every Monday night. Dutch Mantel reviewing SmackDown every Friday night. We have our great Wednesday night show tonight covering AEW Dynamite. Maybe we will find out more about this situation tonight. Maybe there'll be some illusions there. A lot of big AEW news, WWE news. We have it breaking all the time at Sportskeeda.com. If you haven't done already, go and download the Sportskeeda app as well, available in Apple and Google Play, so you don't have to go clicking around, get it all in one place. Greg, if they want to follow you on the old Twitter machine, all the work you're doing at Sportskeeda.com, where do they go?
Twitter.com/Greg Bush SK.
SK. See, you got the real branding in there. The office must really like that. You made your own Twitter about them. I'm a jerk. I just got my own name in there. You can follow me at Kev Kellum. I'll be doing some comedy shows this week. A lot of different things I do in rock radio. It's all right there at Kev Kellum on Twitter. And of course, KevinKellum.com. That's my own website. All right. So, a lot to think about here. A lot to process. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. I know everyone's complaining, but hey, it ain't boring. All right. Wrestling has not been boring this week, has it been, Greg? It has been a very interesting week in wrestling. And remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, which is what, Greg?
I don't.
It's enjoy wrestling. It's your first time. It's your first time. I'm not going to be mad at you.
I'll have it written down next time.
We'll see you guys.